How great is our God?
And today is Super Bowl Sunday, so amen, let's go.
Still got half an hour.
Okay, we're good. I just realized I'm wearing purple. I guess I'm going for Ravens. Boo!
Hey, that works.
Just kidding. My dad just did this for me. I'd like to thank him, my dad. This is my mom and dad dressing me today, pretty much. So they bought a couple of outfits for me when I went up there to visit them, and he knows I'm preaching more often, and I guess he wanted me to look more the part instead of jerseys and flip-flops, I guess. So I'd like to thank him for that. And since it is Super Bowl Sunday, I want to have a huddle before I start. Bill already started it, but I want to have Richard come up and pray, and I also want to ask Jeff to come and agree with him on it. Because the world may see Jeff as weak as he's in a wheelchair, and like I said last Sunday, I see strength in him. Through spirit eyes, I see a warrior, and I want him to pray over me and give me strength for this sermon. Because he's been a motivator for me in times when he says that he may be weak in body, but he's going to give 100% in spirit. And that encourages me, and that gives me strength. So I'd like those two to come up and start this huddle off. Amen.
Lord, we come before you today, Lord, to lift Rick up and just thank you, Lord, that Rick's just such a prime example of your promise to us that if we set aside our desires and take up yours, that you have great plans for us. And we just pray, Lord, that you just keep strengthening him in his ministry, Lord, and just pray that your word today, Lord, will just not fall on deaf ears, Lord, and soften our hearts and clear our minds, and just make us take this message to heart.
Yes, God. Rick's not up there for no reason. You called him up there. And I just pray a blessing on him, and as he speaks, Lord, just have the message go out, use him as you intended. And I just thank you for him, and this is kind words to me. And he's been a big encouragement since I've known him, and I just thank you for his life and his wife, and just bless him.
I gave Richard notice, but I didn't give Jeff notice.
Oh, I pray for him.
We're talking about teams, and that's what we need to build is teams, team of men to do this with. Because I can't do this on my own, and that's why I wanted those guys to come up here, because they're part of my team and they'll strengthen me, along with many others. And that wasn't part of the notes. So, God's just, he's awesome. Like Cindy said, this week's just been going on, and God is moving, and God is hearing prayers, and God is using us the more that we go to Him. I came up front because Pastor asked me to come up front and sit up here with him and stuff like that, so maybe so the kids wouldn't be around enough back there, you know, trying to do sound and hold two kids, one on my floor, trying to do sound at the same time, someone pressing the computer, trying to switch slides on me, wanting the birthday sign. So I come up front, and they come up front now. Which is great because Jesus says, let the children come. And they come up front, and as Haley, my niece, she came up, and she was praising Jesus. She'd go back to her nook or whatever, but then when she'd come up and she would do this, and she would just praise and she'd go back. If they want to come up and praise God, they can come up and praise God. That's all I'm saying. It's just amazing what's going on with the kids too. And as prayer time, Sarah had her eyes open. Close your eyes. So they're knowing what's going on. They're seeing us, and we're leaving a legacy behind to them. And today's is the legacy and the ring. And it's the legacy that we leave behind that counts. I was listening to Rain Traps on the way over, Raise Them Up, and then the three-wood crosses. It's not what you take with you, it's what you leave behind. And it's so true. It's what we leave behind when we're gone, and that legacy that we carry on. And if I can sing, I'd sing a song. It's great. But I'm going to do it.
You can rap.
But today's a game, and I want to talk about a story about a football game. And it got off the internet, and it's called More Than a Game. And I'm drinking smart water because dumb water just doesn't cut it anymore. More Than a Game. The attention of the county was recently focused on a high school game in McDermott, Ohio. In the final quarter, Dave France and Derek Dwight, the rival coaches, called a timeout, conferred together, and agreed upon a highly unusual play. So it's two different head coaches from the high school team coming together for a timeout to call a play together, which is unusual because they're playing each other. On one of the team, a 17-year-old Jake Porter, a mentally challenged player, in his 3 years on the team, he suited up for every practice and suited up for every game, but he never got to participate in the game. Near the end of this game, his coach called him onto the field, and the quarterback handed the ball off to him. In a brief moment of confusion, Jake hesitated, then he began to run. The opposing team gave away without looking too obvious, and this young man ran 49 yards to score a touchdown. Then something unexpected occurred. Both sides of the spectators stood up in the stands and began to cheer and cry for joy for this young man's crowning moment in life. Players from both teams celebrated with helmets raised in the sky, and both bands began to play. Jake's mom, Liz, a single parent, ran onto the field to embrace her son at the moment for school. It was more than a game. And that is awesome. They set aside the winning and losing, and they gave a chance for someone to be great, to have a moment. And this was two teams going against each other, and the head coaches came together and allowed him to have a legacy that he'll never forget. Justin Tuck, the pitcher of the Brick Strong. This is Justin Tuck from the Giants, which they beat Green Bay a couple times, so I don't want to talk about that. But if you look right here, he's wearing a green bracelet right there. It doesn't say, what would Jesus do? It says Brick Strong. And the other picture, that's Brick right there in the 91 jersey right there. He, in high school, played a few years, and they called him Brick Strong because when he was getting tackled, it took 4 or 5 guys to tackle him. And then by his senior year, he ended up getting leukemia and became weak. And Justin Tuck found out from who people have heard from him that he was his favorite player. So Justin Tuck went over to the hospital and visited with him, and they ended up becoming friends and actually gave him his phone number. And when Justin Tuck would do bad, he would say, hey, what was going on with that game? And so they actually became real friends. And there was a whole interview on it, and I just came across it because I was actually looking for something else, and this story came up and it just caught my attention. But he wears this bracelet every game now, and he's wearing it in that game right there too. It was Brick Strong to remind him, you know, that strength is not just in what we see. And he ended up dying after this game right here, shortly after. That's the last words he got to say to him. And it pretty much said, you better do good or I'll get you in heaven or something like that. But he ended up dying. And Justin Tuck was trying to leave a legacy to him. Justin Tuck ended up saying Brick did more for him than he probably ever did for him. So Justin Tuck gets strength and courage from this young man that looked up for him. But he's leaving behind that legacy. And now every game you'll see that bracelet. And that happened to be the year that, sorry Patriots fans, that the Patriots went 17 or 18-1 and lost the Super Bowl. And if you look, during that time he was wearing that bracelet, and there's a picture of him sacking the quarterback, and you see the bracelet, Brick Strong. And that's more than a game right there. And that is awesome because you see these football players, they can actually make impacts. They play a game for a living, but they can also impact a world and leave behind a legacy. My notes just disappeared. But tonight, this afternoon, there's going to be no repeat of that story. This will be two teams battling out for one trophy, which you see up there. It's going to be a battleground for the two teams, and they're going to fight with all they can to win this game. Because when you're the best and you want to be the best, and that's what you do, you fight. Just like I want to be the best in church, I'm going to fight, I'm going to do the best, I'm going to study, I'm going to prepare. They prepare for this game because that's what they do. And their greatness on and off the field can also shine, like Justin Tuck said. And there's many other. Tim Tebow, we know most of his story. He's out there in the Philippines working, and he's just a man of God. So even though it's a football game, it's just a game, that game God can use to leave behind legacies. In the beginning of the year, there's 32 teams, and each team have one goal: to be one of these two teams fighting for the Super Bowl championship and to get a ring. Only two teams get there, one from the AFC and the NFC, the best out of those two, but only one becomes a winner out of that. Brothers. We got another picture up here. These are two head coaches. They happen to be brothers. Jim and John. John's the Ravens head coach and Jim's the 49ers head coach. John's an older brother. He's the one in the purple. And this is amazing in itself too, because there's 32 head coaches. There's a lot of people in the world. And two of them came out of the same household. So that alone is almost a miracle of itself too. Now they're fighting each other here today. Their teams are fighting against each other. This is going to be tough on them because they're brothers. And I was listening to an interview that John had said, and he says, "There's no losers here tonight. We love each other, and I'm proud of my brother's accomplishments." The fact is, there's going to be a loser tonight. There will be no tie. There will be none of these two going together in center field saying, "Hey, you just want to call it a tie, go home." One fans would just go away crying. They wouldn't be happy. But another point of view, they have parents. Both parents want to see their sons win. That's going to be hard on them. Because there will be one loser and one winner. We've got a winner picture right here of a Super Bowl champ, and I chose Green Bay because I'm a Green Bay fan. They got the trophy. He's got the wrestling belt too. That's a different story. Aaron Rodgers' move is championship belt. So Clay Matthews, the guy with long hair right there, actually grabbed it from the fans and ran up on stage and gave it to him. So he had the championship belt too. We see the confetti, the enjoyment, they're excited. They won. And the reason I chose this game is because my dad's a Steelers fan, and they actually played each other. So it was house divided that time. Not as bad because we don't control what happens there. But here's a loser pick. It is sad because they've worked their whole life to get to this moment just to blow it. Yeah, it's great, they got to go to the Super Bowl. And before, if they were pumped up, like, woo, we got to go, we're going to win, yeah! One of the brothers are going to look like that, and the other brother's going to have a smile and joy. But I don't know how they're going to handle it, because, I mean, it's still their brother. And then the parents. This happens to be, they want to be excited because they're both Super Bowls as head coaches. They've only played each other one other time, and that was just in regular season. And the Ravens ended up winning that one. But it's just going to be a little different thing there. So we have winners and we have losers in this world. But with God, there is no loser. And how do we handle winning and losing in life? And what kind of fan are you? Some fans will watch a game and get irate and let that ruin their whole week. And they'll just be down, "Oh, I'm stinking Friday night, I'm thinking this. They should have catch, they're getting paid millions to catch the ball. Oh, blah, blah." And they do that the whole week. And then when they win, they're like, "Yeah, woo! I'm excited, let's do some solar." There's no guy solar to do that, but it okays me. We can't let a game affect us. I was watching Green Bay play the 49ers in a championship playoff game. 49ers ended up winning, obviously. As you see, there's no G up there. So I'm a little sad, and I didn't even know if I was going to preach today because Green Bay wasn't here. No, it's just a game. But I was at Little Phil's house. Actually, he's tall Phil, too, but at the same time. Anyway, we're over there, and I was watching it with Marty, Christine, and Andrew, and a couple of others, just watching the game. And Kaepernick, the quarterback for the 49ers, was running all over like he was a running back. He got the most yards the quarterback has ever gotten against Green Bay, or any team at that. He got like 200 rushing yards. He's a quarterback. He probably ran for more than he threw. But it was frustrating. At times, I was just watching the game, enjoying it. And then Green Bay throws an interception just to make it even worse. And I'm like, "Oh, man." Marty looks over to me. He's like, "Hey, you not getting mad, bro? You getting mad, bro?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. It's just a game. I mean, yeah, I'd rather watch Green Bay play in the Super Bowl, but it's okay." And he said, "Well, that's cool," because he used to have a friend that he would watch it with, and he would get mad and scream at the TV, and be that kind of guy, and it wasn't a joy to watch the game with him because he let that game ruin his day. We can't live like that. We can't live like that in life. When trials come our way, we can't get mad and scream at the world and go around, stinking Johnny, more this, I want more money, I need. That's me too, by the way. But we got to go out joy in life with joy. One of my football coaches, he showed us that. His car broke down and a lot of things were just going wrong, and I'd always see a smile on his face, and then, oh yeah, his car just broke down, and got this, impounded this, but he had joy on his face, going through that. In the world, when things go wrong, we're like, oh yeah, they did, get mad, get angry. Yeah, you deserve to get mad and angry because life's treating you unfair. But when you see someone smile when trials come their way, when you see joy on their face, you stop and think, why are they so happy? They just lost their home. There's something else inside them, and it's Jesus Christ. Because with Him, nothing is impossible. And when we have Christ, we are not losers. I'm going to use Jeff again because I love that man. He could look at that situation and say, God hates him, and God did this to me. God did this, God did that. Now, at times, we can get sad. We can cry when loved ones die. We can get sad, and we can pray, God, why did this happen? But on the outside, we got to show joy. And we got to show that Christ is in us in this circumstance. And that's what Jeff does, and that's what encourages me so much, because I stand up here, and I'm able to do things that he's not able to do now. But he's also able to do things that I cannot do by being there in that situation. And it's just amazing the joy I see in Jeff. I know at times he probably gets emotional about the situation because, I mean, who wouldn't? And when loved ones die, we get emotional. And when young men die at 18, I understand. It's not right. But we need to look at it as God's in control. As I preached once, God's sitting in a reclining chair on His throne with His cup. Relax, because He's in control. And that, to me, is comfort. Now, fans can be fanatic and crazy, and they cheer and they yell and they scream. Now, that's cool. I'm at a game. I'll get excited. I mean, it's entertainment. Is what it's supposed to be for. And we're like, whoa, let's get going. And then when players get a touchdown, they'll do dances, and you look at them, why would they do that? It's some weird stuff, but they'll get excited, and they'll dance, they'll score on that, woo, yeah, yeah, woo. And they just go crazy, or they'll just Superbowl belt. You look at them, Clay Matthews did one of these things, you're like, what are you, a pole dancer or a football player? But even players will get excited about it too. And the funny thing is, fans are spectators. Fans aren't partakers, but they act as if they are controlling the game. There's those commercials that there's a beverage we're not allowed to drink, and they are like, the proximity to the field creates this alternate something that helps the players kick field goals. So fans are all getting in there, they wear their lucky socks or different colored shoes, and they think that they're controlling the game by doing this stuff. They think that they're partakers, when in reality, we're only spectators. And also, fans will wear different weird costumes at times. We got a picture of this weird person here. Who wears a block of cheese as a hat? That's me and my mom. And that's a cheese head. Hence, it's a block of cheese on my head. And then other fans are excited and stuff like that. But in church, some of us will come to church, we'll just sit down. In church, we should not be spectators. We should be partakers, and we should be participating. When it's worship, it's not just, oh, Jesus. We need to be worshiping. We need to be saying, Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I need you, and I want you. Get excited. If you want to dance up here, dance. They do it in the NFL. They do it in the TVs. Come on, we get excited for Jesus. I'm excited for Jesus. I want to, woo! Let's do our dance. Let's do our Jesus dance. Woo, yeah! Yeah, Jesus! Yeah! We need to get excited for Jesus, and that's what I'm saying. We need to become part partakers, because we will have effect if we're in church. In a football game, you don't really have an effect, just the noise level, which can be. But here, we can have an effect in the church service. We are a team, and we are one. It's not just me preaching. It's the worship band. It's the preparation. It's everything else that goes into it. It's the children's church. We are one team with one goal, and that's to win souls when they get the crown of glory, or the ring, as you may say. And that is what it's all about.
Amen. Amen.
That wasn't in the notes either. God wants me to look crazy for you guys.
That's okay.
It's all on tape, so you can read.
Oh,
There you go.
and it's going on YouTube because my mom just got mad because I had a couple of Wednesdays I didn't have them on YouTube. And she was sad. So I gave her the notes. She says, those are good, but I wanted to see you. I wanted to hear you. So, speaking of that, I had a friend from high school. He's still my friend. He called me up, got in contact through my mom and Sarah on Facebook and stuff. Said, where's Rick been? He's vanished. He just vanished. Apparently, if you're not on Facebook, you're just gone. You're just gone off the face of the earth. And he said I vanished. I've been right here the whole time. So I actually called him up, and I hadn't seen him in 7 years, or talked to him in 7 years. I was like, what's up? And he's like, dude, you need a Facebook. Your friends are missing you, and they haven't seen you, and you just vanished. So, all right, Thomas, I'll get one for you. This happens to be the same guy that tried to give me a MySpace back in the day in high school. And I was like, no, that's no. So I was like, I still don't want one, Thomas, because it's not for me. Well, I now have a Facebook page. So there's one out there. I'm now unvanished, and I'm here now. I'm back. So, and now you can go to my Facebook page and go to About, and then there will be a link to my YouTube, and there'll be my preachings on there. So it'll be a ministering tool also that my friends in high school can see. Me become a perfect party animal to a spirit-filled animal up here. God will still use you as your animal style. We're not talking about that either. But teams will let you down. They'll go to the playoffs just to lose it for you, as Green Bay did. Just before the big game, they'll lose it. There has been only one perfect season in 47 years of Super Bowl history, and that was the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Back then, there was a couple less games, so they went 17-0 and won the Super Bowl. They ended up winning the Super Bowl the next year. We haven't seen them in a while in the Super Bowl. In 2007, they went 1-15. They went to an undefeated season throughout the years to be the best, to become the worst. Teams will let you down throughout the years. And like I said, the next thing that was closest was the Patriots. They won 18 games in a row, went to the Super Bowl, and lost the one game that mattered the most to a team that was like 8 or like 8-8 or something like that. It wasn't that bad, but they had lost a lot of games that season, but they won the one that counted. In life, it'll come at us like that. We'll sometimes feel like we're losing and we're losing, but God will give us strength, and at the moment when we need to win it, He will let us win it and give us the victory over it. We don't have to look like undefeated people, because in reality, we have defeatedness in us. We were born sinners. We were born not perfect. We will never be perfect on this earth. Your family will let you down. Your siblings, your spouse, me, your pastor, will let you down at times because we are only one. And that's why we have to tell you guys, rely on Christ. Don't rely on me. I may come up here and blow the whole sermon one day. But rely on Christ, not on us. MVP, which means most valuable player. They have a couple different ones. They have one for the MVP of the Super Bowl, and then they have one over the whole year. And it usually goes to quarterbacks, but this year it went to Adrian Peterson, and he was 9 yards short of the NFL rushing record. So he's number 2 on the board, but 9 yards short. It's got to be a disappointment. You're all excited. You think you probably got it. You were 9 yards short of the record. Oh my gosh, that means 9 games I could have got 1 more yard and I'd have had it? 9 games, well, 1 game with 9 extra yards. But that is an accomplishment of what he did. But the thing is, he couldn't do it on his own. If you just put Adrian Peterson on the field against 11 opponents, he's going nowhere. He's going down. He needed linemen to block for him. He needed receivers to catch, quarterback to give him the ball every now and then he needed the quarterback to play action to throw it to get the tension off of him. He needed a whole team. He needed a workout. He needed trainers, medical staff, because last year he had tore his ACL, and for most running backs, that's the end of your career. And then he came back, and was 9 yards short of an NFL record. That right there is a miracle in itself to accomplish that after that. So he got the MVP. In Super Bowl history, MVP, there was 1 kick returner, 7 running backs, 6 wide receivers, and 8 defensive players with 25 quarterbacks as the MVPs. So if you want an MVP, you got to be a quarterback for the most part. And 1 kick returner, so there's only been 1 special teams MVP, and then a handful of defensive ones, and the rest all from offense. There's 22 positions on the team. Without everyone playing their best, one cannot shine. We need everyone to play our best so that one can shine, but we all can shine. And in football, Aaron Rodgers won the MVP last year, but he had a team. He had a team with him. He had people in the front to block for him when he goes back for the throw. And when you have that team in front of you, and then you know they got your back, you have time to throw with precision and accuracy. This year he was sacked 50 times or more, the most in the league. And that's because the line broke down and they kept coming through. And now he's scrambling for his life. And to throw that ball, he's got to run and throw it this way. And that's when things go out of control and you throw interceptions and stuff. But here's the thing, he still almost had an MVP season with being sacked the most. So that goes to say, even though sometimes the devil breaks through the line and chases you, you can still be an MVP being chased by the devil, because God's on our side and he can fight for us. And when you get sacked, which is getting back behind the line of scrimmage, you can get back up in the next play, you can throw it even farther to the next play. So we can get sacked the most, but we can still be the best as long as we have Christ on our side. Amen. And that we're always seeking Christ on us. Bobby Manning from Baptist Church in Baltimore, he's obviously a Baltimore fan. But he was saying, he was talking to an NFL player on the Ravens team, and then he was listening about Ray Lewis. And Ray Lewis is probably one of the best linebackers in NFL. And he does play for the Ravens. Patrick Willis too, sorry. But he said it's impossible to play football with one person. Like I was showing you, you can't have 11 guys run down one guy and call it a game. And he also said, it's impossible to live a successful Christian life on your own little island trying to do it by yourself. I cannot stand up here and preach to you, one, without Christ in me, because that would just be a weird sermon. But I can't do it without a support group, the church coming to see me, a wife there saying, oh, that's good, then you can do good. Because you may look at me and see strength and physical strength and stuff like that, but deep down, like, am I good enough? Am I going to make it? I have these things too, guys. And it's like, oh man, what if I mess up? And I have these things, and it's like, you're going to do great. You're Rick Lee, because I always say I'm Rick Lee. And I am, I mean, I guess technically I'm lying because that's my name. But, you know, I can't do it on my own. I can't do it without a pastor leaving behind a legacy in my life so that I can leave a legacy in the lives of others. It's all about what you leave behind. And that's what Pastor's doing, is he's setting up a legacy here in this church and me. And then wherever I go on, I have a whole backup group. I had a pastor pushing me to do camps. He tried to when I first got here in 2006. I didn't want to, I wasn't ready like I said. And then he tried again when he saw changes going on in my life. And he's like, you know what, I think he's ready now. And there was a heart issue going on in me when I was younger that I didn't care, I didn't want to. And I was like, okay, I'll go. Because my dad always said, when you're under a pastor, do what they ask, you know. And so he asked me, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. But at that time I was doing the acting, and I wanted to go on and do that, and there was an audition at the same time. And so I was like, this is what I want to do. And he knew. He knew there's time to wait. There's time to jump out of the boat, and there's time to stay in the boat. And that time he realized that there was time maybe just to stay in, and maybe I wasn't ready. But then he saw the opportunity again, and he gave it, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And now I'm a minister, and I'm up here preaching. But I couldn't do that without a father growing up that loved the Lord, and that he taught me that. He taught me, and my mother taught me that. Just as we bring Haley here, and her mom brings her here, she's up front, she's praising God. She may not know exactly what she's doing, but she knows when it's prayer time. You close your eyes, you put out your hands, and you seek God. And you're up here, she's worshiping, and that's awesome. That's what you need, is a support group and a team to do that. And so I had a loving father to do that, and a mother to take me through. My mother showed me to love, and my father showed me to follow Christ with all you have. Pastor showed me that I can do it, and that he believes in me and gives me strength. I have a wife that says, you're great, baby, you're going to do great. I have a support team also. I'm not up here by myself. It may look like it at this moment, but I have a whole support group and a team, because I cannot do it on my own.
Amen.
Hey, I'm staying away from my nose for the most part, guys. Probably talking about football. Now, Ray Lewis is a professing Christian in the NFL. We know Tebow is, but Ray Lewis, we don't hear that much about it. But right now, as he's in his career, he's starting to do that. And I was watching a lot of interviews on him. And one of them, he was speaking to a school. He was preaching a message about God, and we need to pull up our pants, and we need to walk the streets of Baltimore in a different way. And he was preaching a message of God and Christ there. He was preaching the gospel to it. He elevated as one of the most best players in the NFL at his linebacker position. This year he's retiring, and his legacy is going to be behind. He's talking about a legacy, and he's one of those pumped up players if you ever watch him. He's like, "Whoa, let's go, team! We got a war to win! We got to go out there!" And this pastor was saying he's an encourager and a motivator. He said after he got done talking to him, he felt like he could go out there and get a pass out there on the football field in the NFL. He thought he could do it. That's what we need in our lives. We need motivators in our lives to take us and to uplift us and to say we can do it. Ray Lewis knows that he needs the whole team on his side for one of us to shine. If Ray Lewis doesn't have that team, he's not going to be able to shine, and that team won't be able to win. So Ray Lewis pumps up the whole team, and he gets them excited for the game because he knows without them, he can't do his job. He knows he needs that support group and that team. In 2000, he went to the Super Bowl, and he ended up winning it, and he's one of the 8 that ended up winning the MVP. After that, there was a Super Bowl party, and things went a little hazy, and it goes on to say that it was pretty much at the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, and he was on trial for murder for a while there. He ended up getting acquitted for that. And so now the media is talking, how can he profess God, have 6 wives, 4 kids, and acquitted for murder and all this stuff? And they're saying he can't be a real Christian, but Tim Tebow can't because he goes to the Philippines. Did he go to the Philippines? What he's doing right now is the media is talking about God again. The media is debating this, however it's going about, but God is being talked in the sports right now. And just because you go to the Philippines doesn't necessarily mean you're a Christian. But Tebow's walk is, from what it looks like, to be a good walk. I'm just saying, they're like, because he went to the Philippines, that's what they're basing his walk with God on. I can go to Ecuador, do something for the kids there and take care of them, come back and go sin and be with the devil. Just because you go do something. We'll continue on that in a second. I want you to let someone go somewhere else now. We are one body with many parts. I'm not going to that scripture. We're going to Matthew 14, 22 through 33. Jesus walks on water. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side. While he dismissed the crowd, after he dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. And the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost!" they said and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, and cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when he climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those that were on the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." I say we are one body with many parts, and I go to this scripture here because Jesus told one person to walk out of that boat, not the whole boat. I was listening to one of the messages, and it caught my attention when he said, we hear a lot of great pastors with good meanings talk about Peter walking out of the boat and saying, we need to have faith and just walk out of that boat and walk out on water. And he says, you know what, Jesus only called one of them to walk out on water. And that's where I come from, the one body, one heart. When you're called to walk out on the water, you better walk out on that water. But if you're not, stay in the boat. We need to stay in the boat because we are a team. Imagine if all the disciples got out of that boat at that moment. Now you've got Jesus standing there holding all his disciples out of the water so they're not drowning. And the boat's floating away. And so Jesus is like, thanks guys. Now Jesus could have just said the boat come here and the boat would come there. But he called one guy. He needed the rest of the disciples on the boat, one to man the wheel, one to man the sails and the rows. And he needed a couple of them to stand on the side to grab Peter and to help him back into the boat. Now I look at that as Peter being the pastor, stepping out of the water when called to, and then when he gets too far, he needs to get back into that boat. He has a team back on that boat to bring him back in. When I walk on that water, I need a team to bring me back into that boat when I need it the most. We all can't just jump out because there'll be chaos. I was talking to a friend and he said he doesn't feel like he's called to preach because he'd be burned out. If you're not called to preach, you're going to burn out. And a lot of pastors on the radio were saying we have a lot of burned out pastors. They just jump to the conclusion, oh, I want to do something for the Lord, I'm going to go preach. But they haven't been called yet, and then they have burnouts in 3 or 4 years. Now that friend, I believe, would be more of a mentor. He'd be the one on the edge just waiting, and to get me back in that boat and say, wow, that was dumb. But he's there. We all have a part. We all have to do our jobs. Some of us need to man the boat, and some of us need to drop the anchor. Some of us need to grab another person back into the boat. So we all have a job to do. Back to Ray Lewis in his past. One of the, I won't say any names, but one of the players' wives states a statement that she tweeted, "Proud of my husband and the team. And by the way, if anyone is bored, please go to Ray Lewis Wikipedia page. 6 wives, 6 kids, 4 wives, acquitted for murder, paid the family off. Yeah, what a Hall of Fame player and a true role model." She was later told, I'm sorry, and then Ray Lewis in the conference said, you know what, sometimes we say foolish things, and he said, I have no hard feelings, I forgive her. But a bad past, he may not have the prettiest past, but neither did Paul. Paul was murdering Christians and persecuting them, but then he became something more. He wrote half the New Testament. He became a warrior for God. When he had that encounter and God opened his eyes, he's like, oh, Jesus. Now, according to these people that are saying he can't be holy because of what he's had in his past, if that's the case, I can't stand here today and preach to you guys because I was born in sin. I've sinned my whole life, and I'm going to sin here and there. But with God, I say, I need you. You are my God. I need you, and without you, I cannot go on. Today, Ray Lewis is going to be on a stadium that people pay millions of dollars just to attend the game and to put commercials up on the Superbowl Sunday. Ray Lewis is getting paid millions to stand and play. And he has an opportunity to have a huge audience that most of us will never even get a chance to speak at or anything like that. And that's the impact and legacies that we've been doing. Now what if God was judging you like he got judged us then? If we had a list of everything I've done up here, you guys would be like, oh boy. And some would be like, figures. But the thing is, I have a past too. We all have past, and we don't always do the right thing. And when we turn the wrong way, we need to seek God. And God is what makes us holy. It's when we say, God, I need you. Now, I wanted to play this video it's not Ray Lewis, it's Michael Irvin, which is a football player, and then a radio announcer on Sirius XM. And these two talking about Ray Lewis's faith. Is it faith or fiction? Which is awesome because they're talking about God. They're talking about faith on the radio and on the news and everything like that. And this is the video, it's 4 minutes. Just listen to what Michael Irvin says to him.
I've been on this, and I know you guys have gone a different direction, so I got to be fair to the audience who listens to me every day. America is tired of Ray Lewis. Okay, I'm tired of Ray Lewis. I can't. He's got 6 kids from 4 different ladies. God love him, but I can't hear about God's destiny and God this and God that and the spirituality of Lewis and everything else. Now you might have a different take. I know he's very influential. We all know how great he is. He's a tremendous football player. Nobody will ever take that away from him. He's a Hall of Famer. But I can't hear about God's design when he's got kids floating all over America. What's your take on that?
And here comes the misunderstanding. When someone says that they are spiritual, it does not mean that they're saying they are superior. They're not saying, Matthew 9:12 in the Bible, Matthew 9:12 says, Matthew tells us, they that behold needs not the physician. The great I am comes for the sinners, not the righteous. So what Ray is saying when he says, I'm a spiritual man, I believe in God, I need God, he's saying I'm a weak man. In my weakness, his strength is made whole. He's under the covering. He's under the covering. So the mistakes that you say don't get him in are the mistakes that get him in. When I was getting ready to go in the Hall of Fame, I walked around, I did a lot of speaking to a secular audience, and I would share my issues, what they call former conversations in the book of Romans. Apostle Paul means my old lifestyle, right? I would share the issues that I've gone through in a secular audience, and they'll say, that's why he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But in a spiritual setting, I would share those same stories, and they would say, that's why he should be in the Hall of Fame. Spiritually, you use your falls to help improve the lives, your life, and others. You're not going to go through life without the fall. So when you're saying, I'm a spiritual man, you're really saying, I don't have the ability to live in the flesh. I got to live someplace else because the flesh runs me. But when I go spiritual, I can run my life.
He's a Hall of Fame. To me, it's not a Hall of Fame argument because I don't care about
definitely Hall of Fame.
Hey, we all know that. So what he does off the field.
Why can't you hear him talk about God because he's made some mistakes? That's my dilemma. I think that's when you talk about God.
6 kids, 4 different women, Mike.
Hey, now, who else can you go to?
And I'm not trying to tell you I'm not perfect either.
Help me with all of this.
Listen, I'm far from perfect too, and I got all my flaws. I'm not trying to spread it, but I'm not going to go tell on national television, God's destiny, God's this. That's a private matter, and that's why Wesley Walker's wife says something. That's why in a lot of towns in America, and that's why in a lot of cases, a lot of people don't. The people the sports fans that I know of, they don't root for Ray Lewis on Sunday afternoon. And because they don't want to hear Ray Lewis tell us about God this, God that, God this, God that.
Did he say the same thing about Tebow?
Yeah, but Tebow, but he lives it though. Tebow lives. He goes to the Philippines. He does this. He does that. I think we all agree that Tebow's spirituality and his religion is real.
But see, this is
real.
But how
people
can
don't think Ray Lewis is?
Oh my God!
Well, that's what people think.
I don't know that people don't think.
They do.
I know that we perpetuate things and say people.
That.
You can just say you don't think. I can say I don't think unless we get a whole bunch of people calling in and say we don't think.
You'd be surprised.
And I'm sure there are people that go both ways. But we need to understand more about spirituality. It doesn't say I'm perfect. As a matter of fact, it says just the opposite. I'm not. I need the help.
All right. So your argument is that he's by him doing God and all that, it's about his flaws more than anything else.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Well,
that's what it's all. It's hey, I'm sick. I'm in the hospital. When I say I'm spiritual, I already admit that I'm sick. At least I'm in the hospital. That's the reality of it. It doesn't say we're perfect.
Michael Irvin, of course.
And trust me,
that's a good answer.
Perfect.
Well, good answer. We can debate it. I might disagree with it.
I'm every day out here.
Oh my God. Now I don't know where his faith stands or anything, but right there he just preached the gospel to everybody listening to the football station. God's using football to win lives. Michael Irvin says, we're under the covering. We're under the covering of the blood of the Lamb. I am. And I am to be covered. How many of you guys are covered under the covering?
Amen.
Amen. We need to get under the covering. I just thought, wow, he just preached the gospel to him. So he's getting under this pressure of Satan's trying to attack him like, hey, you can't be a Christian because of your past. And those are I've been talking about, it was good this week, and God's been good to me this week. Like Sandy said, there's a lot of things going on, and that God's working in our lives. And I wanted to talk about what was going on this week and what's happened. God is listening to our prayers, and I told you that I wanted to dream dreams, and I wanted to be the best, and I wanted to have the faith to take on giants. I wanted the wisdom of Solomon. I want to be the greatest. If they can be the greatest in football, why can't I be the greatest in God? And be the most humble at the same time. We'll work on that. But that's, God answered a prayer because I wanted to dream dreams. And God gave me that. Wednesday night, I had a dream. And I'm going to read it because I don't want to mention names and stuff like that. And I don't want to go off on that. But Wednesday night, I had a dream. And I was praying for someone. And yes, I knew who that someone was. And it was clear as day. It was emotional. And I broke out praying in tongues over the person. And that's when I knew something was powerful was going on. That in the dream I was praying in tongues over that person. And there was tears and it was just an emotional. And then I looked into the face of the person and it didn't feel like it was me this time. I couldn't explain it at the moment, but now I've come to realize it was like God was, through me, speaking to that person in an intimate moment. I love you, and I always have loved you. And those are the only words that I heard in that dream. So that's why I knew those were important. So I wake up thinking, I don't really think too much of it, but I figured since I was praying in tongues over them, I might as well pray. So I prayed, and in the dream, I had felt that there was a heart. I was praying for a heart, and a softening of a heart. I didn't know what it meant, but I just knew it was a soft heart, and then strength. So I'm like, okay. So I prayed for the individual spouse, the children, and I just prayed for a soft heart and strength, because I don't know what it is. I thought nothing else of it. And so I went on with the day, went to work, and I didn't know the bigger picture, so I just kept praying for a soft heart and strength. And I didn't think anything of it after that, so I figured it meant nothing, really, just pray about it. Okay, so I did. I went to work and I continued my day. Then at Home Depot, I saw the name in the dream on the wall, and it brought me to prayer again. And it hit hard, it was a heavy on my heart. And the dream was so vivid there at that moment. So I'm walking through Home Depot praying for a soft heart and strength for the whole family. And just kept going on to more and more family because I didn't know what I was praying for, really. And then I continued on my day again, doing solar, with a dream on my mind and my heart being heavy all day. Then I knew God was wanting me to pray more and more, so I did. And then I was driving to get more parts or something, and then it said, call that person. Did I call and tell them I was dreaming about them? What if it's not really real and it's just an awkward moment? Hey, I was dreaming about you. Oh, cool. Oh, well, all right, thanks. I wanted to just pray. I didn't want to look like a fool. I didn't want to be the one dancing, being a fool. But I'll be a fool for God anytime. And when the Spirit hits me hard, I'll do what the Spirit says because I don't want to miss out on my opportunities. If I'm praying to be Spirit-filled and all these things that happen, I'm going to do what it says. So I make the phone call. Tell them the dream. It's comforting to know that it actually meant something. And God was working with that person in that dream, showing them, hey, I love you, and I always have, and I hear your prayers. God was showing me that He loves me and cares and will give me my heart's desires. And it was a heart-softening prayer that I needed to be praying for with strength. So God put it right on my heart, and I hadn't spoken to that person in a week or didn't know what was going on. So for it's all to work that way, and for me to know, they knew it was from God, and I knew it was from God. So if I have a past that's dirty, and they're saying God can't use that, I'm here to tell you, God can take your past and whatever it's been, whether you have 3 marriages and 12 kids from different marriages, whether you've been sinning, robbing, stealing, or whatever you've done, with Christ, you can still have the power of God in you. I'm here to prove it to you today, that the power of God is still out there, and it is still moving no matter what you've done, no matter your age, no matter how young you are or how old you are, as I've preached before. You can fight mountains. You can take mountains over. You can be 85 and take on a hill, on a whole army. You can be 13 and take on a giant. You can do all things with Christ, no matter your past, as long as you put Christ in there. I wanted to have dreams, and God gave me dreams, and I pray for more and more. I want to be used by God. I want to leave behind a legacy that God can use me, so when I'm gone, others will see Christ in me, not me. I don't want the glory. I want Christ to have the glory. I don't want you guys to look, wow, He's holy. I want you to say, wow, God's holy enough to make Him preach my word. I want God through me. I want you guys to see Jesus through me, not Rick Lee. I want you to see Jesus Christ when you see me. And leave behind that legacy. And today is a game with 2 brothers that one will lose and one will win. But in the end, it's brotherly love that really matters. It's that family holding together and saying, hey, we got to the Super Bowl. Hey, we got to become head coaches. Hey, we got to impact the world. There was an ultimate Super Bowl 2,000 years ago. And my God, my Jesus has never been defeated. He is undefeated. He has never seen defeat. 2,000 plus years ago, it was in the 4th quarter and Satan thought he had won. He thought he had won when he saw the nails go through Jesus. When he saw that he was being whipped, Satan thought he was going to win the Super Bowl. But God called a timeout in the 4th quarter. When Jesus was laying in his tomb, He said, I'm going to rise you up. I'm going to raise you up. And Christ rose from the dead. And that is what gives my past wiped away and my future with Christ now. It's that Super Bowl I want to be a part of, a winning team. Jesus is my MVP, and He should be your MVP. And Jesus Christ is what it's all about. Not my past, not Ray Lewis's past. It's the fact that he's out there preaching the gospel to the world, to the kids in a hurting nation, in a hurting city of Baltimore, and all these things. So remember, today, it's just a game, but life is real, and that is where we need to be at. And the legacy that we're going to leave behind.
Sing with me, how great is our God. All will sing how great.